Hey everybody, Chad here. In this episode of Law of Attraction Secrets, we're going to talk about planting the seed and leaving it alone. So we're going to talk about planting the seed and leaving it alone, leaving it buried, walking away from it. But anyway, if you like this video, share it, like it, subscribe, of course. You know the deal. But anyway, I'm Chad. I'm in Thailand right now. I would move the camera around. The lighting might be okay to actually move the camera, but sometimes it creates I have like a really terrific view, but ironically it creates like a weird glare, in the camera and stuff like that. So I can't really, flip it, so you're always looking at this side of the room rather than the ocean. But anyway, and I always wear tank tops. So if you always wonder, like, why in the hell does he wear tank tops? It's because I'm in Thailand and it's flipping hot. And I have almost like 3-4 of the same tank tops. That's why I'm not wearing the same tank top in every single video, even though it looks like it. But anyway, planting the seed and leaving it alone with the law of attraction. There's a lot of little concepts in here that, we've been talking about. I mean, one of the things, and this is a challenge, I think, for all of us, okay, when we're really honest with ourselves. It's a challenge for me too, that when we set an intention, okay, if you listen to earlier videos, when you set an intention, what I mean by an intention, you're setting a goal, you're setting something you're going after. It could be very materialistic, you want your dream car, dream house, dream job, dream career. It could be, it could be something like you want to start charities or whatever you are into, whatever that intention is. You're setting that intention, that goal of what you want to achieve. You're setting one goal at a time. You're trying not to set 10 different goals, because remember, that disperses energy, okay? It's better to kind of focus on one thing at a time, not your energies focusing on 10, 15 different things. Or, when your thought process is going out, you're thinking about 15 things, so energy's all over the place. So you're focusing in on it. Now remember too, not going to go deep on this, but your intention can be for yourself. Okay, I can set an intention for myself. That's more objective. Okay, it's more kind of a selfish energy, a little bit more of a selfish law of attraction, a little bit. Or it can be subjective, meaning that I'm setting an intention for another person. So remember, our power can go both ways. Our power, law of attraction, the power of law of attraction, the power of the energy of law of attraction, it's not just meant to be only for Chad or only for you. I can set an intention for another person. I can pull another person out of their state and put them into a different state. Makes sense? So, for example, really quick example of this, just in case you don't know, what I mean by pulling someone out of a different state and putting them into a state that I want them to be, well, I'm referring to, let's say if somebody's, addicted to drugs. Okay, you have a family member or somebody addicted to drugs. Well, besides just when you think about them, besides just constantly thinking of them, they have an addiction, they're struggling with addiction and blah, 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 blah. And that's how you think of them. What you have to understand is, when I think of you in that state, when I think of that person in that state, I keep them in that state, okay? And energy, the power is very, the power is strong. So we actually keep somebody in that state. Now, what I need to do is lift them out of that state. How do I do that? I do that by, every time I think about them being clean and sober. Every time I think about them, I don't think about them in current state. I think about them that they're clean and sober. That's how I think of them, okay? Takes a lot of brain power, takes a lot of work to do that, but I'm lifting them out of that state, and that's me setting an intention for that person, okay? Now, planting the seed, kind of go off on a tangent here, but sometimes it happens, but planting the seed and leaving it alone. Now, when you set an intention, okay, what we have to understand is we're planting that seed, okay? Just like you have to kind of put yourself in the thought process of what happens when you plant a seed. I dig a hole, I put the seed in there, cover it up, I water it every day or every other day, and we know 100% that seed is going to sprout, okay? No matter what we planted. we planted a crop, we planted corn, wheat, we planted flowers. We know that flower, if I planted a flower, that flower is going to bloom. Okay. Now, we might read on the back and it might say it's going to bloom in 6 weeks. So we might know a time frame in there, but we know it's going to bloom. We know it's going to sprout. We know it's going to bloom. We know as long as we kind of keep care of it a little bit, we water every day, every other day, like we should. But we kind of plant the seed, we forget about it, and we walk off because we know 100% and we believe 100% that that flower is going to sprout, that flower is going to bloom. Okay. It's the same concept with law of attraction. It's the same concept when we set an intention. Okay. When we set an intention, okay, the next phase of setting an intention is total belief. Okay. It's total belief, total letting go of the how. Okay. Now we have our different exercises we do, affirmations, gratitude pads, law of attraction pads. We have our nightly routine, daily routine, morning routine. We have that stuff going on too. That stuff just helps our mind stay positive. Makes sense that we don't constantly drift into the negative. Okay. But the main part here, what we want to talk about is planting a seed, totally believing it's going to sprout, leaving it alone, letting it go. Okay. Makes sense. Now what happens is we start to, and it kind of depends upon how emotionally attached we are to our intention, our goal. Okay. Sometimes I find that like when I set certain intentions, when I set certain goals for myself, some of them I'm more emotionally attached to. So the more emotionally attached you are to something, it's harder to believe. It's harder to let go because you're attached to it. You want it to happen so bad. It could be like if I set an intention for another person, okay, I want it to happen so bad for them. So I'm so emotionally attached to it. I'm kind of trying to force it to happen rather than kind of step back and let it go, let go of the how, kind of let go and let God. Okay, let go and let the universe take care of it. My job is just to set the intention. My job is just to plant the seed. Okay. And give the seed time as an incubation period. Give the seed time like a gestation period. Okay. We don't know. We don't control the how. Okay. We don't know when. Okay. But the more we can let go, the faster it comes to us. That's, from me studying this for like 15, 20 years, me studying like not even, popular people today that talk about law of attraction. Studying like 100 years ago, people like Neville Goddard, Napoleon Hill, and there's a lot of them in there that really study law of attraction. And, that's who I like to kind of study with, like, because it's more old school. It's the new school, they kind of twist things a little bit, but it's still the same information. They're taking it from the same source, but they're just kind of putting it into their own words and stuff like that. But what we have to understand is that with our attention, we just have to totally believe it's going to come true. The more you believe, the stronger your belief, the easier it is to let go of it. Letting go doesn't mean I'm quitting. Okay. Letting go just means I totally believe it's going to come true. That's bottom line. If I set an intention, I'm just totally confident. I'm totally believe if I stay persistent with it, it's going to come true. Okay. But what happens is it's the same thing with the seed. When we plant that seed, we totally believe that seed's going to sprout. Okay. Now what happens, we don't see things happening. Okay. We live by our senses. We live by see, hear, smell, taste, touch. If I don't see it, well, I don't believe it. Makes sense? We kind of live in reverse. The school, our school system, our parents and TV and movies, and they teach us reverse. I need to see it before I believe it. But law of attraction, law of consciousness, law of abundance, spirituality, okay, teaches the opposite. Okay, first you believe, then you receive. Makes sense? It's the opposite. Okay, so what happens is we kind of have to kind of twist around our thought process a little bit. So what happens when you plant a seed? When you plant a seed, you plant it, you cover it with dirt, you take care of it, okay, you water it, but you forget about it because you know that seed's going to sprout, okay? Now, what we can't see with our human eye, once that seed's on the ground, we don't see that seed growing roots. Make sense? We don't see none of that. We don't see the little roots starting to crack out of the seed. We don't see none of that because it's underground. It's in the dirt. We don't see none of that. Okay, we don't see the roots getting, like I put my hand under here, but we don't see the roots cracking through the seed. We don't see the roots getting bigger and bigger and bigger through the dirt. We don't see the roots going deeper in the ground to build a strong foundation of your intention, of your goal. We don't see none of that. We don't see none of that happening. Okay? The only thing we see is when that seed sprouts and that flower starts to break through the ground, then we see it. Okay? But we don't see nothing underground yet. Okay? Okay. Underground is what's actually building the foundation of your intuition. But we don't see none of that. Okay? That's why we have to hang in there. That's why you have to think to yourself that you kind of have to, the analogy of the seed here, you kind of put yourself into that analogy. There's a lot of stuff that we just don't see with a naked eye. Makes sense? We don't see it happening. Okay? Things are happening, but we don't see it yet. Makes sense? When you set an intention, and maybe you set an intention and it's been 3 weeks and you still don't see things happening, and you think, well, this doesn't work. Okay, you start overthinking, overanalyzing, and you're thinking about it so much that you're tired of thinking about it because you can't move on and do other things because you're just constantly thinking about it, that you throw in a towel and you give up. Okay, what you have to understand is, I don't know why this happens to me, is every time I feel like giving up, okay, you're so close to if your goal's right here. When you feel like giving up, you're so close to the goal. You're about this close to it. You're this close for your intention to come fucking true. I'm sorry for my language, but that's how it is. You're so fucking close. And I don't know why this happens all the time. When we set a goal, okay, every time you get crazy close to it, that's when you feel like giving up. Okay? I don't know why this happens. Every ultra successful person talks about this. Okay? You don't feel like giving up in the beginning. You set your goal in the beginning down here. You don't feel like giving up when you're way down here. But for some fucking reason, when you're flipping close to it, you're like almost like together with it. That's when you feel like giving up. Make sense? It's like the seed, when you're this close. If we talk about the seed analogy, when you're this close to your goal, when you know what's going on. The seed itself is almost cracking through the ground. The seed itself has germinated, okay? It sprouted under the ground. It grew deep roots under the ground, but you can't see it. You can't see the darn thing unless you dig it up. You can't see it. Okay, it built a strong foundation on the ground. It built roots throughout the ground. It built roots down to build up a strong foundation, so it's not going to sprout and fall over. So it has to build a good foundation on the ground. It has to build good roots on the ground. So as it sprouts, it's not going to just fall over dead, But we can't see that. We can't see the darn thing. Okay, it's the same thing when we set a goal. We can't see because everything's invisible. Okay, we can't see all the things that are aligning in place for our goal to happen, for our intention to happen. We can't see it. Okay, we can't see it until it's actually in front of our face. Okay, same way with the seed. We can't see the flower until the darn thing pokes its through the dirt. Then we see it sprout. And once it pokes it through the dirt, most of the time it grows pretty fast from there. Okay, but that incubation period underneath might, it kind of depends upon your goal, your intuition. Well, not your intuition, your goal and intention, but also depends upon what type of seeds you plant. Okay. But going back, you have to hang in there. Makes sense? You can't give up. You can't go off onto like an emotion, or emotional sabotage, and start destroying everything that you built over time. You just have to hang in there and stay persistent because things are working in your favor. Okay, that's what you always have to tell yourself. When you set an intention, if you believe it and you persist and you hang in to the end, it's going to happen for you. 100%. It's going to happen. Okay. But we have to hang in. We have to hang in. We have to persist and hang in to the end. And remember, it's just like when we plant a seed. I'm gonna wrap this up. I kind of saying the same thing over and over and over, but sometimes we need to hear it. Sometimes it's like me saying, it's like a broken record, just saying the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over. But sometimes we need to hear it. We need to hear this stuff over and over and over, because right now you might not feel like quitting, but a week from now you might feel like fucking quitting. Then you might remember kind of what I said. Hang in there, persist. Every time you feel like quitting, it means you're so flipping close. You're so close for it to happen. You have to kind of push through that barrier of feel like quitting. And you have to remember, as a seed, okay, why would you quit right before the flower is going to sprout? Why would you quit when you water that seed every day? That seed has grown roots and grown deep roots under the dirt. It's almost ready to sprout with a flower. Why in the hell would you quit? If you could see all that, why would you quit? See, the thing is, if we could see it, nobody would quit. Everybody would do this. The hardest part is because we can't see under the ground. Okay, if I'm doing the seed analogy, I can't see all this sprouting going on. I can't see how deep the roots have grown. I can't see none of that. Only thing I can see is when that flipping thing sprouts. Only thing I can see is when the flower comes up. Okay? When the flower comes up, that means your intention became what? True. Okay? At the very end, we see that it became true, but we just don't see we don't see everything in between. Okay? We don't see all the pieces that are playing in our favor to give us what we want. Okay? So anyway, that's what I want to share with you. Kind of went on and on and on. I feel like a broken record sometimes, but sometimes when I do these videos, I need to hear this stuff too. It's not just for you. I need to hear this stuff too, because as I set intentions, the more emotionally attached I am to stuff, it can be challenging, quite challenging sometimes, to kind of hang in and be positive and not be negative and persist. And this is all, sometimes it sounds easy, but it can be very difficult at the same time. Easy, but difficult. But anyway, hang in there, my friends, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.